The Golden Goose. Once there lived a woodcutter and his 3 sons. They made a living by cutting down and selling wood in the market. But the 2 eldest sons were very selfish and dishonest, unlike the youngest, who was kind and honest. One day, the eldest son went to the forest to cut wood. He brought with him a loaf of bread and a bottle of wine his mother had prepared for him. While he was in the forest, he met an old man sitting under a tree.
Good day to you. I seem to be hungry and thirsty. Would you mind sharing your food with me?
Asked the old man.
Don't be silly. I won't have enough if I share it with you. Go away,
replied the eldest son. The eldest son started to cut down the tree. But after the first stroke, he missed and cut himself very badly on the arm. He quickly rushed back home to have his wound looked after. The next day, the second son went to cut some wood and brought with him bread and a bottle of wine that his mother prepared for him. The second son, too, met the old man, but he also selfishly refused to share his meal. Just like the first son, he cut himself with his first stroke, but on the leg. He also needed to return home to treat his wound. The very next day, the youngest son, John, begged and pleaded with his father to let him go to the forest to cut the wood. At last, his father agreed and said,
Your brothers have both hurt themselves. Be careful, I don't want you hurt too.
He went to the forest the next day, bringing with him a soggy loaf of bread and a bottle of sour beer that his mother had prepared for him. He met the old man, like his brothers. The old man greeted him and asked,
I'm so hungry and thirsty. Would you share your food and drink with me?
You are most welcome to share my meal, but I only have soggy bread and a bottle of sour beer,
replied John. As John took out his food, however, the bread was rich and sweet, and the sour beer had turned into a fine wine. They both ate and drank well. After eating, the old man said,
You have a kind and generous heart. Therefore, I will tell you a secret. Go to the tall tree over there, and you will find a golden goose near the base of the tree.
Then the old man left. John followed the old man's instructions and found a goose with feathers of pure gold at the tree. He happily brought it home. On his way home, everybody John met admired the golden goose.
This This is such a beautiful goose. Could I have a feather, John?
asked his Aunt Sarah. John, kind and generous as always, replied,
Of course. Take one if you wish.
The moment Aunt Sarah touched the golden goose, her hand was stuck fast, and she was yelling for help. But as soon as one person tried to help, that person got stuck too. John had no choice but to continue on his way with the golden goose under his arm and everyone else behind him, all stuck to the goose. On his way home, John passed by the king's palace. He tripped over a stone and fell. Everyone else behind him fell with him, tumbling to the ground, pulling and yelling at each other. The people around him started to laugh, amused by the odd procession. Above it all, John could hear someone else laughing. A princess, by the sound of her voice. The king's daughter had witnessed the whole procession and was laughing uncontrollably. John was brought in front of the king.
Are you the person who made my daughter laugh? What is your name?
Asked the king.
My name is John, Your Majesty, and yes, I was the one who made your daughter laugh,
answered John.
John, before my daughter saw you, she was always sad and unhappy. I vowed that any man who could make my daughter laugh could marry her if he wished,
said the king. The princess was called in, and the moment she saw John and the golden goose again, she smiled. The king kept his promise, and a few days later, John and the princess were married and lived happily forever.